So this presentation today is about a consortium that we are building in Portugal. So this is a national initiative, but actually it's not intended to be Portuguese. So the idea is to be expanding with other partners. And so this presentation is actually a joint presentation between me and Dr. Esmeralda Martins here in the audience. And together we built this presentation. Before I started, I also would like to thank Vanessa. Vanessa has been also the motor behind this consortium. And I don't know what is Vanessa. It's not here at the moment, but it's good because we can talk about her. She has been really important for me because she grabbed me from the basic research and she put me studying CDG and in many different ways, not only in terms of research, but also in awareness. So this has been very important for me and also for Vanessa. And I feel that I'm here in face of you. It's very important to be part of the family, but I'm not an expert. You are the expert. So the professionals actually are the patients, are the families. Yeah. So about the consortium, so as you can see, we have many partners involved. And the idea behind the consortium started with this idea from a basic researcher that the translational research has three main axes. So the basic researchers, clinical researchers, and then the patients or the associations of patients. And the basic researchers, they are very focused on mechanisms of diseases and looking for biomarkers very specifically. And sometimes most of them, they do not interact with clinicians. Or if they do, it's only the basis of to get some samples. So this should be very, very important because the clinicians have a role in dictate what is relevant to be investigated. So that's where we feel in a small country like Portugal. So it's good that everybody interacts to give priorities to research. And most of the basic researchers, probably almost all of them, do not interact with patients and families. And this is also a problem because it's very important, these interactions, to, again, to give a priority what has to be investigated and also to define what is important for the patients, what is relevant. So this is the idea behind the consortium. So the consortium joins researchers, basic and clinical researchers, medical doctors, and also the patient associations comes as a scientific partner with a very active role. So the idea of the consortium is to encourage collaborations among these three axes, and also to increase the knowledge in all the sense. Knowledge for the basic researchers, for the public in general, for the clinicians as well. Many clinicians do not know what is CDG, that was already mentioned here, and also for the families, very important for the families, for the patients, information for them. To promote the faster diagnosis in terms of tools, new tools, but also to promote diagnosis to increase the number of cases that are sent to diagnosis, that sometimes they are not considered as CDG, but they could be suspected as CDG. And also to develop relevant basic research. Again, as I said, if the basic researchers are being in contact with the clinicians and also with patients, families, it's very important to define for them priorities. So otherwise, the priorities for research will be mainly dictated by the funding agencies. So I think this is very important, these collaborations, being guided by the clinicians and by the associations. To create general public resources, important for the public in general, and to increase the training opportunities in all the sense, again, for the researchers and also for the families. At the end, the main role is to improve the life of the affected patients. So this is just a brief scenario what happens in Portugal. So we have 58 patients diagnosed with CDG. As you can see, most of them are a little bit more than half of them are PMM2, probably as in all the other countries. But we still have a great percentage of patients which are diagnosed as CDG, patients based on the transferrin migration assay and also other biochemical assays. But the diagnosis is still ongoing. So, and this, for us, is being also done in Portugal, the diagnosis, but also in collaboration with other international partners in Belgium and and in Holland. So in terms of the clinicians, of the clinical diagnosis and follow-up, this has been done as in a clinical metabolic units all over Portugal, in two in the north, one in the center, and two in the south, and also in the islands. And these metabolic units are composed by people that are actually here in the audience, and they are very experienced in diagnosis and also in the management of CDG patients. And they follow a multidisciplinary approach with it's very important for this kind of patients. And they organize also lots of activities for training activities, for the pre- and postgraduate activities. In terms of the diagnosis, so we have at the moment the diagnosis mainly centered in Porto. This is actually the laboratory of Jacinto Magalhães. So actually, Dulce Quelhas was about to have a talk yesterday, but unfortunately for personal reasons she couldn't come. And so diagnosis is centralized in Porto, so eventually it may also be performed in the other units. But it also relies on collaborations, international collaborations. As I mentioned, there are still some CDG patients that we know that are CDG, but still we don't have a very precise diagnosis. In terms of basic research, here it comes me. I'm mostly involved in immunology, but we are also interested in creating models, especially in vitro models for studying and to understand better what it is the relation between immune response and CDG. So, but I will talk about this a little bit later. In terms of also in CDG, as you know, we have a very strong patient association, which is led by Vanessa Ferreira. They have been really tireless, and as you know, I don't need to give more details about this. But this is very, very, very important because not only these meetings like today, but also meetings at national level, for instance, with Dr. Elisa Leon-Tellis, that was performed related with rare diseases, focus on CDG, and also initiatives related with fundraising, very important, because in Portugal, our funding for research, either basic or clinical research, is very limited. And awareness, as again, for the three main axes, for the researchers, for the clinicians, and also for the patients. So what about this consortium, so the CDG Park, so which stands for CDG Professionals and Patient Associations Research Consortium. So professionals here includes the clinicians, the basic researchers, but also the families. And we have been organizing this, so our slides don't have photos or pictures of persons. This is in purpose, because we are still, although we have already this organization, we are still waiting for new partners. So we are still inviting new partners, so this is still open. But we have an overall management, and then it is distributed in 4 other work packages. Focus on diagnosis, led by Dulce Quelhas, and then we have the biology or the basic research, led by myself, and then we have this work package 4 that is focused on the clinical research on CDG, led by Dr. Esmeralda Martins, but we also have many other partners involved, like Luisa Diogo, that we have sharing the last section. And we have this work package, very important in terms of collaborations, that includes Professor Jack Jacken and Eva Morava and many other collaborators also from Spain, that are what we call translational, or that are transversal partners that also are involved in the dissemination of education, and the other international partners that also participates in all this work package. So the idea behind, is much more to be close to what it could be a very competitive work plan for European funding, for look for funding. So we feel that this is a problem in Portugal, get more funding to get more dynamic the research regarding CDG. So I will just enter briefly into details about this 5 work package. So the first work package is management, but also communication. The second work package is about diagnosis. So as I mentioned, not only in terms of new tools for diagnosis, but also very important to increase the awareness, to increase the number of patients that are sent for CDG diagnosis. And in terms of biology, as I mentioned, we are focused on the immune response, but we are extending this, including more collaborators that with other areas in terms of metabolomics and cell biology. In terms of clinical research, so the idea in this work package is also to create a platform where the data from patients could be shared, not only data but also samples from from patients, and also to increase the publications in terms of clinical reports and care service, and for a country where most of the I have patients distributed in different hospitals, and also the clinical institutions are not linked or physically linked to where it is performed the basic research. This can be a problem, how to exchange data and how to exchange resources. So this is also one of the goals of this work package, to foment this interaction. And finally, the work package 5 is to improve the awareness campaigns, awareness about professionals, for professionals and families, and to have easily resources that could be used and could be applied for CDG. Also to increase the opportunities of the partners to participate in meetings like this one, and have the public awareness about CDGs by creating websites, for instance, and also other types of resources for awareness. So this is a huge list of activities that we have already been performed. So I call your attention for this one, that we are inviting partners to participate in this CDG park. And there was already some press releases, I don't know if you have noticed, by Vanessa, and we are at the moment working on this agreement to be established between the partners. And then we have in this work package 2, we have already identified some societies to be associated and where they could be also used for further dissemination, and also infographic, very good infographic build. So this work package 3 and 4, I'll give a few details in the next slides. And then here in the dissemination, you can see a huge extent list of activities, which included actually the last CDG meeting, World CDG Conference. As you know, it is available on the YouTube channel. Okay, I will skip this. In terms of work package 3, so the basic research, just a few highlights what we have been doing. So the research has been focused on particular sugars that are decorating many of our cell surface proteins. And we are focused on cells from the immune system, which are dendritic cells, so the DC stands for dendritic cells. So these cells were already mentioned yesterday, are very important for the immune response, for dictating what type of immune response, either to fight pathogens or tolerate commensal bacteria, for instance. Even they are also behind the problems associated with allergies, autoimmune diseases, but many other factors are also involved in immune response, which have been neglected, like the cardiovascular system. So we have been focusing how are important the glycans on these cells. So we think anything we understand about this can be actually be something more applicable to CDG patients. But the idea is also to create cell line models and to get deeper inside what is the effect on immune response in these patients. Okay, in terms of the clinical research, so some highlights what have been already done. So we have a huge registry of data concerning the CDG patients, that you can see here some details, and it includes as clinical, biochemical, imaging data, and also molecular characterization. We also have, in terms of the clinicians, also have been very participative in terms of collaborations with basic research. And this is the project that I told you before. And also, it has been, they have been very active in having or building resources to help patients and families and also professionals to deal with CDG patients. And this included guides. For instance, there is a card for the the patient with rare disease. It's actually an initiative that it was performed at national level. But in terms of, it's very useful as well for the patients with the CDG disease. This is actually a card where there is some guidelines what to do in a case of emergency. This is very important for the families and also for the professionals. And finally, I would like to mention an example of partnership already performed between the CDG Park, which involved families, researchers, and professionals. And I know you noticed that we had a CDG, a CD of music related with the one CD, one CDG Live. It was outside. And so last year, about this time, there was Luis Corrales. Unfortunately, have this only a small picture here. Luis Corrales is actually the grandfather of a kid with an undiagnosed rare disease. So he decided to develop this CD of music, and the CD of music was sold. So there was a huge effort using the social networks for dissemination of the CD. And the money with that, as Vanessa said yesterday, was about 9,000, which is very good for an association. So part of the money has been used for, or as the idea is also to expand this initiative, has been used for a scholarship, Liliana Summer Scholarship. And at the moment we have Maria Monticelli, so it's an Italian student there. And she's working, the activities involved also the CDG awareness and also to build resources for basic and clinical resources. So this is a very good initiative from initiatives from that involve the associations, also the families, the fundraising, and then something that could expand the interest about CDG research. And I must say that we have a poster outside, so if you want to know a little bit more about the CDG Park and also activities of based on the Liliana Summership Scholarship, you can also take a look there. So in conclusion, and will be my last slide, the key ingredients for progress in combating CDG is the consortiums like this one, or other type of consortiums, because the idea is to share information and resources and also the collaboration, and have this sense of building a community among the researchers, the doctors, and also the patients. So this is very critical for the CDG research. So, thank you.